welcome to Fine is a 4-letter word. This is a first. I have two guests on the show today, Alexandra Clayton and Michal Sinnott. Welcome to the show.
Hi, Lori. Thanks for having us.
Hi, Lori. We're so excited to be here today.
I'm super excited about this conversation. I don't know where it's going to go, but I know it's going to be good. So let's just jump right in, and then we'll get into first of all, how we got connected. It was an intro through one of my past guests, Aneta Kuzma.
Yes. Oh, she's so wonderful. We were so blessed to get connected to her. Yeah. She's an amazing woman.
Totally. And crazy story about how you connected too.
Yeah, it's true. We met at a bar I used to work at. Yep.
You never know. It just goes to show you never know when you're
going
to
meet
the people.
Yep.
Yeah, just start talking to people because you don't know what's going to come out of it.
I've met so many interesting people working in customer service, I don't know. I always just ask someone how their day is, and it's amazing what opens up. So.
Yes.
Yeah.
Love it. Okay, so let's jump in. I have a question, and whoever wants to go first can answer first. What were the values and beliefs that you were raised with that contributed to you becoming who you are?
Wow. I'll go ahead unless you want to,
okay.
Alexandra.
I'm either way. I was I also just thought of something, but.
You can go if you want.
All right. I will say I was raised with a real value of education in my family. It was sort of a generational foundation. And it was a pretty broad sense of how you could become educated, but it was just general curiosity for the world, big exploration of the world. It was something my parents really embodied in their lifestyle choices. It was something at least my dad's parents embodied in their lifestyle choices, and I also was lucky to spend a lot of time with them growing up. And I was just reflecting on this past weekend. I was really raised by a girl dad and feel so lucky for that. And my parents didn't allow us a lot of TV or media. And my mom is amazing and gave me such an intentional childhood. But my parents agreed to sort of give us very little media when we were kids. And it wasn't until I hit my late teens and started becoming a movie nerd that I realized how intentionally they had sculpted the little bits of media I had received to be so many female rock bands. And the movies and the TV shows that I watched, the few that I did watch, had female leaders and females in position of power. And it was always the idea that I could do anything, and being a girl was badass and amazing and would never hold me back. And it wasn't until I got older that I was wow, that was so intentional that they were showing me women in leadership positions all along, and really implanting in me that my gender had no influence on my capacity for leadership and success, and I still feel so grateful for that.
Wow, that is really special and unusual.
Totally agree. I was getting teary listening to your childhood. My mom was a single parent, and so, but she so there was a lot more chaos in my house growing up, but my mom has an incredible sense of love. She's one of the most loving, open, non-judgmental people I've ever met, and she really imbued me with a sense of love, and she was very open with saying I love you, and we always said that in our household. And so she really taught me how to love, I think, and instill that as a really big core value for me. She also really gave me a sense that I could dream and I could do anything. We didn't have a lot, and there were a lot of challenges, but I could dream as big as I wanted, and there was nothing I couldn't do if I just put myself to doing it. And so I really took that with me into adulthood. And also a big sense of adventure, and travel, like the importance of travel. Education is also important to my mom. My mom has 2 master's degrees, and she education was important, and also like education through travel or through like experience. And like I come from a long line of travelers and sailors. I have like ship captains in my ancestry, and people that traveled like great distances across different lands. And so I desire to go wherever was really a core value. And also not being afraid of change. Like there was always change in my life. And so like I lived in 6 states before I was 5.
Wow.
And so I've never been afraid of change. Like change is something that's like, it's just comes very easily to me. And I think that the older I've gotten, the more I've realized what a gift that was, because I meet people that are like so afraid of things changing, and like we're always like life is always changing.
That's what life is.
Exactly.
Yeah, there's no way to avoid it. You can dislike it, but you can't avoid it.
Totally. Yeah. So those are all big core values that I think that I have really adopted in my life.
Very cool. Okay. And so now those were both of you had such fantastic values instilled in you that it seems unusual. And you mentioned about being open in saying I love you. So the question is actually for both of you, does that mean that you were also encouraged to feel your emotions?
Yes.
And feel and express? Because I'm asking because a lot of the guests I've talked to and a lot of people outside of my guests, that was not a thing in their house. Like you were not allowed to have emotions. Because you weren't allowed to have emotions, you certainly weren't allowed to express them or even know what they were for a lot of people.
Yeah. No, I was very much, so it's a mix because early, like my parents were together for the first like 7 years of my life, and they did not have a good marriage. And there was a lot of chaos. Mm-hmm. And so I think like I got from experience that it wasn't always safe to show your emotions, but my mom really like kind of combated that. And then once like my mom was just raising us, she really like leaned into that. And she was an actor as well. And so she really encouraged us to express our emotions. And it kind of, I think maybe was a little out of balance because of like the early conditioning mixed with like, just feel your feelings, And so I think I had to grow up and sort of right size that like feelings are not facts. And, like they can be out of bounds if you can't just give in your emotions and that's the end of it. But in terms of expressing it, like it was a real gift as an actor. Like it's very easy for me to like, I'm very like in touch with my emotions and like they just flow through me. And so that was a real gift.
Cool. What about you, Alexandra?
I think I was just like an incredibly emotional child. I like came into the world that way. I was like loud and feeling, and it was very different than how my sister had been. And I had tantrums and I screamed, but I also like didn't know a stranger and wanted to say hi to everybody at the grocery store. And I know my parents were also, so they didn't tamp that down. I think my mom, because my emotions would totally overrun me as a child, and it probably took them a while. The older I'm getting and I'm watching friends deal with it, I was like, man, it must have been a lot for them to handle. They tried to give me like little tools to find ways to like calm down and act more appropriately in certain situations. Mm-hmm. But they also sort of accepted that I had really high emotions that I like wore on the surface, and they, I think worked to help me find healthy ways to channel that. I just needed like excessive amounts of running around and playing and like, you know.
Right. Outlets for the energy.
Exactly. And they were also like, I feel very lucky that I definitely grew up in a household where love was expressed openly and freely. And I know that is not something that had like happened in the generations before. And it's something my parents were pretty intentional about. And I know that I've sort of been told that like I was so affectionate. I was like a cuddle bug as a kid, that like broke the barrier down with my grandparents, because every time I'd see them, I'd be like, I love you. And how are you not supposed to tell, you know, a little like 2-year-old or 3-year-old that you love them back? So
right.
that started getting them into the practice of saying, you know, I love you to my dad for like the first time in his life.
Oh, wow.
So it was like...
So you were a catalyst for change from early.
I guess that's a really nice way to look at it.
Yeah.
Sure.
Accept it. Yes.
Yeah. I thought of another thing that was also a core value, and that was like a sense of something bigger than myself, like a God, or whatever that, you know, like for me, like I was raised in a very religious household. So like the God of my understanding is not like the same as what I was raised with, but that sense of something that like bigger than just me, and a sense of like awe and faith and things that are beyond my understanding from an intellectual standpoint. And that I think was really of huge value as well.
Yeah. Cool. So then as you grew into adults, how did you come to, discover that acting was the thing? And we didn't say in the beginning that you both are actors and producers? How do you describe it? Directors, writers, creatives.
We say,
awesome.
An easy way to say it is like a multi-hyphenate, but or actor filmmakers. That's also easy way to put it. But yeah, we were all the hats on this film.
Right, which we're going to get into talking about the film. But before we got there, like what was the path that led you to this place, to creating this film? I know this is a giant leap because we're going from childhood to like, and we don't have like, we don't need to know all of the details, but like, what's the overview that brought you from these, sounds like both really amazing childhoods and with all of these great values instilled in you. And then you went, okay, now I'm going to share these gifts and the who I've become with the world in this way.
I think for me, so my mom has her master's in theater, and her undergrad in theater. So I actually did my first commercial, like professional commercial, with my mom when I was 7.
Oh wow!
Booked something that I was the daughter and she was the mother, and that hooked me. I was like, I was a very shy child, and like the idea that I could like sit on a couch and pretend to feel things that were not what I was feeling, like. I just ran with it. I thought it was like the most amazing thing, and I sucked it up, and it also really changed, in a lot of ways, changed my personality, because I like was very introverted and shy, and then like it showed me this path of being like different than I was, and just like the joy of like meshing yourself with another character, like kind of taking on someone else's energy, and like that could be like this safe box of space where you can like do anything, and then you come out of it and you're like yourself again. And it just is, it felt very empowering, and like I just wanted it. Like I just loved it from the beginning. And so I think, so that like, I acted growing up. I went to a performing arts high school, and I was, very actively involved professionally, and also like within where I grew up, in school. But I wasn't planning on pursuing it as a career because my mom was a single parent, and she also, like, I knew the struggle of how hard it is to do that with your life. And my mom didn't pursue an acting career. She was like a casting director, and she was an agent, and she did other things, but it was local, and it was not like, we never had any money. We were so poor. And so I was like, that is not the path. Like, I do not need to struggle when I grow up. I am going to have a real job, and I'm going to grow up and do real things, not this imaginary world. And I wrote my senior year of high school. I had to write a play for a playwright. I was in this performing arts high school. I took a playwriting class. It was required to take the playwriting class. And the second semester of my senior year, I had to write a full-length play in order to graduate. And I was really not excited about it. I was actually kind of annoyed that I had to write this play. But I'm also really like an overachiever and a perfectionist. And so I wasn't going to just I wasn't going to just dial that in. I was going to write something good. And so I really worked at it, even though I wanted to be at the beach. And I wrote something that ended up, I submitted it to this Young Playwrights Festival. I grew up in Norfolk, Virginia, and I submitted to this festival in Richmond, Virginia, where Alexandra and I just were for a festival, actually. It was like a nice little homecoming. And it won this Young Playwrights Festival. And so I got to go away and go to this basically free camp where they basically put my play on in this giant Lort theater it was like 1,000-seat theater. I mean, there weren't 1,000, people that came, but it was this enormous, beautiful theater with equity actors doing this reading of my play.
Wow.
And sitting the experience of up to that point had only just been internalized a character. I'd never sat and watched my work through others and been had that sort of out of body experience of seeing my words through someone else. And the experience of seeing that on stage made me realize that I had to do this with my life. And so it was this real eureka moment, and I never looked back. I just was this is what I'm supposed to do. And so then I majored in theater. I ended up transferring to a different school that had a better theater program, and I went to New York and, pursued a career, and then eventually kind of got frustrated a little bit with the pickings when you're a new actor, and it's maybe you get a line on Law and Order, or you're not getting the juicy parts. And a lot of parts it was up against me and a star in my 20s, and the stars were getting it always, of course, because they were names. And so I started writing out of necessity in order to create my own work. And then I just realized over time that I'm more than just an actor. I'm a storyteller, and that I have these stories that I want to tell, and they continue to grow. So
isn't that how Sylvester Stallone started writing and started getting acting? Because he couldn't get the parts, so he started writing his own parts, essentially.
Yes.
Right?
And, Alexandra and I actually ran up the Rocky Steps also. We were in Philly about a month ago at another festival for our film, and we recorded me and Alexandra and Jessica, who played Jackie in the film, ran up the steps and did the whole Rocky.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. I want to hear from you, Alexandra, about and I want to also make a comment, Michal, about your feeling when you were a child and being able to step out of your shyness when you were playing somebody else. It reminds me, and I think I don't know if the book actually came up, but we were talking about this on another recent episode I recorded. It's kind of there's a book by Todd Herman called The Alter Ego Effect. And in it, he talks about how to create an alter ego to help yourself, primarily in business, but really in life. And he talked a little bit about how Beyonce has done this. And I can't remember, there was a basketball player he was talking about in it. I don't remember which one. That when they step on the court, when they step on the stage, they are not themselves. They have to become someone else to play that part.
Right.
And it also helps with, he was saying, then when the criticism comes, which it will, when when you're stepping out and putting yourself out there, there's going to be that. It helps deflect it a little bit because it's not you. They're criticizing the alter ego.
That's true. Yeah, I think I did that with like every part, you know, so it wasn't one alter ego, but it's
Yeah.
just like I love, you know, diving into all the aspects of like playing a character. You know, how does this person dress? Like, what do they think about? Like, you know, I feel like it's successful if you're like having the thoughts of the character and you're not, like, I can literally depart from myself and like really be in like another headspace. And I think that's like so joyful.
Yeah.
You come out of it and you feel like very refreshed.
Yeah. Alexandra, have you had have similar experiences, or what was your entree into the world?
Um, maybe like rare is it that I have like a true sort of out of body experience where I'm like so in something, but I have definitely experienced that, and I think from early on as a child, I also was pretty performative, and I loved trying to stretch myself in those ways. But I definitely we moved when I was in middle school, and then like middle school and high school, I became increasingly shy to explore that part of myself, and I got really into the visual arts and really into photography. I think I've always been a learn by doing person. Like my self-education has always been like, it hasn't been like, I need to sit in the library and read books about this. I'm like, I need to try to make it with myself, every little piece of it. Like,
Right.
so I started trying to, yeah, like make, you know, films. And in my, yeah, I guess teenage years, and then like more seriously through community college in my early 20s, and really also, yeah, just felt a calling to storytelling and didn't know which lens. Like, was that going to be as a director or a writer or an actor? I think there will always be a part of me that is an actor, but it's like each of those roles, I think, I can find different parts of them at every different age I am through life. So I've definitely like dipped in and out of all of them, and probably will continue to do that. And yeah, just started, I think that was always, it was like started working in indie film and learning from my own experiences and sort of taking note of the things I liked and didn't like, and then was lucky to find two women in my pretty early years in New York who also wanted to write and make content for themselves, and we made a web series together. We lived together for 2 years, and we like wrote a web series for ourselves and filmed it in our apartment. And it was like sort of our version of film school without going to film school, because we just tried out all the pieces and like kinds of collaboration and learned a lot from doing that. It's just, yeah.
It's so cool that we now have the opportunity that you don't have to wait for someone to pick you, that we can create our own stuff and like create a web series. Like back in the day, you know, like when I was in school, there was no web, so you couldn't do that. But it's so awesome that now you can have the creative freedom to create whatever you want without having to be chosen by like the whoever the special choosing people are, right? You know, like I don't have to be hired by a radio station to have my own show. Here we are doing it. And the same with making movies and films and putting them out there, because you could always really make your own film, but the outlet for sharing it didn't exist the way it does now.
Yeah. And I mean, it's still, I'll be honest, like part of the commitment has been like in making indie work is like, it's a very different lifestyle. It's not Hollywood glamorous. We're not rolling in the money. It's not easy. It's a lot of different hats and drudgery, and sometimes our creations reach a frustratingly small amount of eyes. But there is like the gift of freedom and growth and expression that if you set yourself on a more traditional like studio track and you're working as a PA and you're working as a this, like I don't know, like neither path is for everyone, and each path really has its merits. And I can't imagine having taken another path because I just am like too hungry to be trying out my own stuff.
Yeah.
I just never had the patience, I think. Not to say, like, I've stepped into all of those other worlds in small ways as like part of my support jobs over the years, but yeah, it was like I don't want to wait decades to get these opportunities I want. Because I also think I'm, again, a learn by doing person, and I don't want to wait and make just one movie or one, I want to make many, because every experience I'm gaining insight into what I like and what I don't like and what I want to say and how I want to say it and how I want to communicate. And yeah, it's a lifestyle. It's like a lifestyle choice.
Yeah. And that's what it comes back to, is everybody has to find what works for them and step into that. And whether it's the traditional path, if you will, or the way that, the indie path or whatever it is, or a combination, it's about figuring out what works for you and then going all into that. Because, as I've talked about many times, life is an experiment and an experience and an adventure. And that's what we're all doing here.
Yeah. And if you're not having fun doing it, then like maybe you like look at that.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's happening right now. Like it's not somewhere else. It's not in the future. It's right now.
Right.
And I feel like it took me a long time to really know that. Like I really was a future centric person where I was always like getting to the next level. And I don't know, I feel very lucky to be largely present these days where I'm like really enjoying my life right now. And it doesn't matter if I'm not where I want to be, because where I am is really great too.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. I love that. So let's go into that leads kind of into the film and the characters in the film. And so talk about how you two came together to create this work.
So Alexandra and I met in a female filmmaking collaborative like alliance in New York City about 8 years ago, and we both were multi-hyphenates.
That's a new term, I think, for a lot of people. Like if you're not in the art world or the filmmaking world, I've never heard it before.
Performers, and like oftentimes it's like there's people that are behind the camera and there's people in front of the camera, but we were interested in both. We were interested in like creating the content and also being in it.
I just want to give a definition to that word. So like imagine someone saying, because I feel like you too, it could be, like I'm a vet tech, but I'm also a jazz singer, but I'm also, it's like all the slashes.
Yeah.
It's like if you just pursue, if you put your life together by like multiple pieces, or you have sort of multiple jobs or different skill sets, but they all play a role in your life, that's the multi-hyphenate. It's the slash.
And I think it also even speaks to like a way of thinking about the world in general. Like I feel like up till very recently, we've been in like this sort of binary world where it's this or that. And now like, I think like we're moving into a period of like the world where it's not one thing. It can be both. And it's so much more liberating and freeing to be in that space where you can be more than one thing. You don't have to be like just the vet tech because you are also a jazz singer,
Yeah.
And it's a liberating place to be because it's there's different facets to us, and so we don't have to just be in one role.
Right. Well, humans have always been that, even if there wasn't that term to describe it, because you could have somebody who, is a parent and a vet tech and a jazz singer, and but they've I think what's changing more is the integration of it, of seeing yourself as a full and integrated person, as opposed to I do all of these things, but they're all separate pieces in my life. Like each one is kept compartmentalized.
Right. It's also, I think, even the idea of moving out of like an individual mindset to a community mindset. Like the world is in chaos right now, and like the idea that thinking each person is right and that's their way versus like what is best for the community. Like we've got to transcend thinking of things in one binary, this or that, right and wrong. Like we have to transcend that like on a global level, I think. And so,
Right.
yeah, there's like far reaches for it, for that sort of idea of a multi-hyphenate.
It is so, you're like so right. It's a recent evolution, because I will say, like, even in my early 20s, I've been working as a photographer for over 10 years as my like main support job outside of my film career, and I use a separate name for my photography business so that I don't show up on Google as both. And I had a lot, even just like with an acting website early on, and I had a writing credit, and I was starting to direct, and I got so much like professional advice from people further along to like not tell people I did more than one thing, tell them I only did this because it would make them they take me less seriously. They wouldn't think I could actually be good at it.
Yeah.
How could you really be good at more than one thing if you're not just a photographer? How do I trust you if you're not just an actor or you're not just a director? How do I trust you? And like, yeah, that is really in the last handful of years that I think like all of those skills really speak to each other and inform each other and make my work so much stronger in the other one. But that like embracing that on a larger cultural scale is new. And
Right.
like,
I mean,
so nice to not have to have the separation anymore. And
Yeah,
I'm like,
because
what do I do with these two different names and websites now?
Yeah.
right,
Yeah,
right. Which one? And then which one is the real you?
Yeah.
Right. Like being an actor will help inform you of how to speak to an actor as a director, and being a director will help you to know, like, you know, how, like, I don't know, they go hand in hand, but yeah, for so many years it was like you're a dilettante if you're not one thing. And I think it took me a long time to like own being a writer for that reason, because I wanted to hold on to the fact that I felt like I'm an actor. People were like, oh, but you're a writer too. And I'm like, no, I'm not. And they're like, well, you're writing things. So like, what is the definition of a writer?
Right.
No, you're clearly a writer. And it's, but I think that was societal too. It was like this idea that you had to choose. And why do you have to choose? Why can't you be all of these things and be drawn towards them for different periods or paths or it's just as you go. Yeah. So
Okay, so back to the original question of how this how this film came to be. Yeah.
And we like to
hard.
It's all good.
had a affinity for each other, and we said like we should make something together. And so speaking of multi-hyphenates, one of my side hustle jobs is I was a flight attendant, and I loved being a flight attendant. It was a lot of fun. And yes, like I also kept that. I never posted pictures online because I didn't want people to think of me as a flight attendant. I was an actor and a filmmaker, and so it was like that hidden part of me. But I got to see the world that way. Like I traveled quite a bit. I could travel for free, and I went to Bali the year before we made this, and I really just fell in love with the island and the like just the people, and I thought it would be a great place to make a film. And so I came back and I left a message for Alexandra, and I said, I think we should go on this filmmaking adventure, and we should propose to our friends and colleagues to pay their own way and like join us and like make a collaborative project. And so we ended up writing a email to 40 people and basically being like, are you creatively hungry? Go on this adventure. Tell us what you want to do in making a film. Maybe it'll turn out great, maybe it won't, but it'll be an adventure and it won't cost you that much. It's like the cost of a vacation. So come. And of the 40, 15 people said yes, and they got to say like how they wanted to work on it, and that was the beginning of this journey 4 years ago.
That's so cool. Yeah. So it took 4 years, which you hear sometimes of films taking much longer, and I'm sure it felt longer to you when you were living through it. But it seems like 4 years, maybe looking back, isn't that long.
Yeah, it's kind of short, actually, considering how long it sometimes takes to make them.
Yeah.
Normally you have like a lot leading up to a film, like years of pre-production, and we did not have that. We had like less than from inception to like going to film.
Yeah.
Like idea inception to going to film. I think it was like
9 months. Yeah. Something
And
like
then
that.
you filmed it in what did you say? 10 days?
13 days.
13 days.
Which is really wild for a feature. And we like also knew we'd have no chance for reshoots. We hadn't seen any locations ahead of getting there. Like There was
outside
a
of
lot
like
of
Airbnb listing,
Yeah.
you know.
wild on the fly elements that we just had to roll with.
Yeah. So talk about adventure.
Yeah,
Yes.
it was like a very juicy challenge.
Yeah.
It was not without nights where, I don't know, but I kept being like, this is so wild. I'm in Bali. Like, maybe I'm awake at 4 a.m., but I'm getting to make a feature. And there's all these people that are showing up for it. And like, it was not hard to pour energy into it because it did feel like just such an exciting, unique opportunity to have.
Yeah. So part of the reason why you are now here on Fine is a 4-letter word is because the whole premise of this film is that the characters thought they were fine, said they were fine. They were not fine.
No.
What? First of all, before we're keeping my listeners in suspense of what the film is called.
It's called Unpacking.
Yes, Unpacking.
So yeah,
You can
all the
follow
ways
it
you
at
can think of that
Unpacking
word.
movie. Sorry.
Yes, let's say that again.
That's my plug. I was like, you can follow, it's unpackingmovie.com.
Okay.
And on Instagram.
Yeah, and I'm going to have that in the show notes as well, a link to it. So how did the characters come to be? Like, how did this come to be the theme of Unpacking?
I think we knew first we settled on this sort of wellness retreat concept. And from there, Michal and I both in our sort of own growth journeys have found just the importance of community and structure. And I think that we also both, and Michal's husband, Joseph, is our third writer on this, all really felt there's like a real lack of this in American society right now. Places for people to go and find support and draw themselves out of wherever they're stuck and get moving forward. And like what has filled in that gap for, I mean, definitely like a more privileged set of people, but is the wellness industry. And it's a mega industry. And it is, it's also like a pay-to-play industry. Mm-hmm. Like, I'm stuck. I need something to move me forward. I'm going to sign up to go here to have this person pull me out of whatever I'm doing. And there's a lot of promises sold for that was our thing, like reset your soul in a week. I'm like, is that possible? Of course that's not possible. But what is possible is to like plant the seeds of change and shake off whatever habits or patterns you've been in,
right,
to start the ball rolling in a new direction. So that was sort of like the foundation of what we wanted to explore with the whole on the film. And then each character has their own path in that journey and cycle of what they're trying to shake off, what's held them back in life, what they're trying to get real about, how they're trying to sort of I lost my words.
Like step into the next version of themselves.
Yes. Evolve.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah.
Okay. So so I had the pleasure of watching the film, and so for anybody who's listening, you can go to the link in the show notes and the website Alexandra just mentioned, and you can watch it there, right? Like you have access to.
You can't watch it yet.
Oh, you can't watch it there. Okay.
Just the trailer.
Never mind.
We're really looking for distribution, so we've been in a ton of film festivals, and we hope it's out on streamers soon. But right now, it's just film festivals. But you can follow it, check out the trailer, get the tone.
But if you go to the website, you can see what film festivals you can go to.
Absolutely.
To see it.
Yes. So yeah, we've been on the festival circuit for about a year, so we might have a handful of others. We're not sure yet. We don't have anything upcoming, but they do pop up. We have a handful of submissions that are still out that we might get into. But yeah, we're definitely focused on like the next, with indie films, that's sort of the path. You go on the festival circuit, you build a buzz, and then you get picked up by some sort of distribution platform.
Okay.
So will be somewhere within the year.
So for anybody who's listening, if you have connections in the distribution side of things,
Yes.
reach out because this film needs to be seen by more people.
Thank you.
We really feel that.
Yeah.
Anytime that's an audience, there's like a beautiful resonance and really interesting conversations that come from it. So yeah, we know there's a place for it.
Yeah, and we know it'll find its audience. I mean, we're not sure how that's going to roll out yet. So, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Could you, this is totally random question that I'm just thinking of as we're talking here. Like, could you do like your own distribution, like a pay to watch it kind of thing behind, like, what are those platforms that you can pay?
Sure. That's
That's
always
like
an
last
option.
resort.
And
It's a last
so-
resort. Okay. I don't know. I'm just.
But it's still early in that process. So like we're trying to go the more traditional model of making the money back from having made it in like, rather than like 5 cents here from each viewer, which is what the model is.
Oh, okay.
But we know, like, ultimately, we're not going to not have it out there.
Yeah,
like, we will do that if we have to, and no one will be the wiser. Like, they'll just be able to stream it,
Yeah,
absolutely.
But we are waiting because we're waiting for, like, that deal.
Gotcha. All right.
We have a sales
It's coming.
that's working.
We're sending energy to that, and it's coming. It's already here. It just needs
That's
to
right.
manifest into present
It just hasn't
time.
yet.
Yes.
Exactly.
Awesome. So what is next then? So that's the focus. It's finding distribution. What are you doing? Like cold calls? What are you doing? How do you get it?
No, we have a sales agency that's repping it. So they're taking it to all the film markets. So they're going to the American Film Market. It's called AFM. In November, we're just like about to launch a new trailer that we're really excited about, that we think like really it really sits with the tone and feel of the film. So we're excited for people to see that, and just, so they go to about 5 film markets a year all over the world. There's one in like Venezuela, there's one in Tokyo, like they're all over the world. So they can sell it like by territory. Mm-hmm. So like maybe we'll get distribution first in Japan, and then maybe we'll get distribution in Spain, or, and then it will kind of roll out like in different countries.
Okay.
So yeah, that's what they're working on. So we're lucky to not have to do cold calls. But it always helps to have connections, and you never know, like if you meet someone at Netflix or, one of the, that's like, oh, I want to see your movie, and oh, this is great. So it's it definitely is who you know. So we're happy to, have anyone reach out if they are like interested.
Yeah. So we're just putting that out there. You never know who's listening. There we go.
You never know.
Yep. What's next?
We're working on another project together.
Okay.
Yeah. It's also the Alexandra, Joseph, and I, the 3 writers on Unpacking, we're working on another story, and it's the same writing team. Alexandra's going to direct it. We're excited. It's like, I don't know, what else do you want to say about it, Alexandra?
It's also an ensemble. It's also it's more comedy than drama, I think, this time, but also sort of in the dramedy zone, and we'll have another interesting location.
Yeah.
Oh, I can hardly wait. Because that's the other thing, is that the movie, the film was good in and of itself, and then on top of it, you have beautiful scenery.
Yes.
Yeah.
So it'll be the same thing. Yeah. It'll be that same awkward, earnest, kind of cringe comedy, but also you go on this heartfelt journey,
Mm-hmm.
So all of those are kind of like, I don't know, they're hallmarks, I guess, of at least the kind of films we want to make together. And
Yes.
they're largely, somewhat of hallmarks, I think, of us individually as well, although we have other films that don't quite sit in that same space.
Yeah. You just said Hallmark, and it made me think of the Hallmark Channel, and that is not at all what your film is like. Those.
No,
it's not that. No, I know.
It's probably too many F-bombs. Yeah.
Oh, right. Well,
I think, yeah.
Anybody who's listening to this, F-bombs is not a problem for them. So
Yeah.
I more think like stories. These are like actually women you would meet and
yes,
recognize
exactly.
yourself in, and it's not picture perfect.
Right. These are right. This is a
Sculpted
story that you can relate to, as opposed to some kind of
Totally.
fantasy out of a romance novel that's like,
Totally.
Yeah.
I've seen this before 700 times, and it's just
It's
fairy
very
tale.
authentic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Authentic is the right word, and that word gets thrown around a lot and kind of loses its meaning too. But it really is in this case.
Oh, thanks.
Thank you.
Appreciate that.
All right. Well, this has been so fun. I know we
Thank
went
you,
a little
Lori.
bit longer than we normally do for a show. And so I hope, as a listener, you're still here, because it is totally worth the extra time to be here. If someone wants to get in touch with you about distribution, or I don't know, anything else we've talked about today, what's the best way for them to reach either or both of you?
They could DM us on Instagram. Like, it's just Michal Sinnott, which is MichalSinnott, or Alexandra will give her Instagram.
I'm
and
Zan
also,
Clayton, XANCLAYTON. I use Instagram way more than I should. I will get back to you the same day.
yeah, I think they can also contact us through our unpackingmovie.com. There's like a channel to email us that way too. So they could go to the website.
Okay, cool. I will put links to all of that in the show notes to make it really easy for people. And
Great.
wait, you know what? I didn't ask you, but we almost got. What's your hype song? That's my question at the end for everyone, and I got carried away and I almost forgot. Jeez.
Okay. I looked at
I don't know if I have
what do
one,
listen
but
to
right
now?
now I've been thinking a lot because I'm in this big transition. I just sold my house and I'm just bought a new one, and I'm like, anyway. And life is really, I'm very excited. Life is going very well right now for me. It is The Dog Days Are Over by Florence and the Machine.
Love it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, mine too. I was like back and forth because I'm changing it all the time, but something that like constantly makes my mixes, and especially if I'm like needing to hype myself up, is Donna Summer, I Feel Love.
Oh, that's so perfect. That goes back to what you were saying in the beginning about your family.
Aww.
I love it.
Sweet. I'm going to go listen to that when I finish today. That sounds
It's
so
great.
nice.
It's got like a really like punch.
Yep. It's running in my head right now. Both of them. It's kind of a weird mix. Yeah.
What's yours, Lori?
Mine is Carrie Underwood's Champion.
Oh, I love that. That's good.
Yeah.
That's a good one. Yeah.
Yeah, but I also have an entire playlist, but that's the
Of
one
course,
that
of
is
course.
that every
Yeah.
time I hear it, I'm like, all right, I can't sit still.
That's great.
I gotta follow your playlist.
I need to create one, like from all the playlists of that everybody who has been on the show has said.
That's
I need
awesome.
to create something in Spotify. It hasn't been at the top of the priority list, but it is something I would like to do. So,
Well,
all right,
for it.
now we can depart. Thank you so much for joining me today, Alexandra. Michal on Fine is a 4-letter word.
Thank you,
Thank
Lori.
you, Lori.
Bye.